of not having fought back, of not having taken the war to the enemy. For we knew we were at war, that they had declared war upon us. But it was so amorphous, we didn't understand. Oh, how we burned in the camps. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
I'm a muscular man who doesn't like commies and AOC and the Mod Squad. I love freedom!
As a former Green Beret Special Forces badass, I can tell you what makes me afraid. People asking me to have on Chris Ballin so he can explain how Israel did 9/11. I'm only a badass on selected approved subjects. To fight for freedom, get angry along with me, and buy my Sab and merch all the way to freedom!
The underlying aim, Surkov said, was not to win the war, but to use the conflict to create a constant state of destabilized perception in order to manage and control.
There's something deeply fucked up with you.
At least something.
Well, we know there are things deeply fucked up with this. You will get through in this film,
right.
But you cannot possibly have sit there knowing that you came from nowhere, knowing that you went to the very top of what is considered outside of science and maybe physics, the thing people most admire because it's like alchemy, understanding hyphenating. You're being rabbinical. This is like
I shaved my beard off. I used to be rabbinical.
My point is, isn't that going through the Torah where you're parsing every definition?
The underlying aim, Surkov said, was not to win the war, but to use the conflict to create a constant state of destabilized perception in order to manage and control.
They're using this against Trump.
They're using it however it benefits them.
Well, but I mean, the establishment, the main attack is against Trump.
Sure. If it benefits them to attack Trump, they will attack Trump. If it benefits them to use Trump to hurt their enemies, they will use Trump to hurt their enemies. Benefits them to attack Trump, they will attack Trump. If it benefits them to use Trump to hurt their enemies, they will use Trump to hurt their enemies. It has nothing to do.
It's all very sociopathic.
It's nothing to do with politics. It's all about power and profit. People got to get the politics out of their mind with this. Once you can accept that, it starts making sense.
The underlying aim, Surkov said, was not to win the war, but to use the conflict to create a constant state of destabilized perception in order to manage and control.
Jeff Epstein. That'll keep everyone busy for weeks. And keeping people busy is the name of the game, and February is going to be a hell of a month. 2026 February. It's already started. It seems the more the Trump administration canes the Federal Reserve, the European Union, China and French, German and City of London run Iran, and puts a giant US base in Gaza, the more Epstein revelations pop out. I wonder what that's about. Crown Corporate Canada Mark Carney, the wet rag.
Prime Minister Mark Carney, how are you responding to Trump's threats? How are you responding to Trump's threats about 100% tariffs?
What we've done with China is to rectify some issues that developed in the last couple of years. In many respects, we're going, to use the expression, back to the future with respect to EVs, with respect to agriculture, with respect to fish products and other food products, but with additional protections.
And his new deal with Crown Corporate EU, Rothschild China, Kissinger's China. Little Canada sure is cocky, like they know a secret. But then, to be fair, Mark Carney has nothing to do with Canada and everything to do with City of London and the central bankers. Well, in these busy times, China, Taiwan machinations and Iran and Emanuel Macrons' aviator sunnies after being beaten by his husband I want to link it all together because I love linking things on my own large language model. Bear with me, my strong shoulders are drawing yet again another long bow.
This bow is a long draw, but I've done it before. I'll do it again. Jason Society or bust.
Hey, look, that's not AI. Actually, I look like that a little bit. Well, the same black shirt anyway. Yes, I've discovered AI. It's Lee Levino's fault. Well, yeah, Epstein waffling to Bannon for over 2 hours on nuclear physics and the nature of reality with dips into AI, Jason Society, science, AI, the Lodge, Kabbalah, sacred mathematics, and a long 2-hour waffle. Did I mention the waffle with Steve Bannon? I hope there's more because that was very boring.
A diverse demographic needs a diverse range of crisis actors to hide the truth.
Look, I'm going to tie in Eastern Star Lodge gal Catherine Austin Fitz and Associates and her good friends at JJ Hurtak, that's Hurtak, Hurtak and the United Nations and Agenda 2030. Watch me. It's almost as bad as Whitney Webb hanging out with good old Russell Brand and his friend Noah Harari, and I don't know, arch-Zionist Glenn Beck. I mean, crying out loud. Why is it they all seem to be associated back to a funny little circle? So right on Catherine Austin Fitz and Associates Solari website, UN affiliated with Agenda 2030 and the light workers and resonant pyramid frequencies and underground tunnels and Tucker Carlson. It reminds me of Catherine and Cynthia McKinney's network and Robert David Steele, the friend of group sex manager Roger Stone, who plays cards with Bill Kristol every month, and Robert David Steele rescuing kidnapped children from Martian bases.
This may strike your listeners as way out, but we actually believe that there is a colony on Mars that is populated by children who were kidnapped and sent into space on a 20-year ride.
And maybe Catherine's underground tunnels, who could say?
One of the things I've looked at is the underground base and city infrastructure and transportation system that's been built.
What would be the purpose?
I think if you're worried about a near extinction event.
Flying saucers!
Robert David Steele, ultra pro United Nations, open source everything for the poor, while being the head guy on CIA and NATO psych warfare, and Ghost Rider for Kay Grigg's favourite Marine, Bisexual General Al Gray. Well, you can't make that stuff up.
General Al Gray. My husband was the chief of staff for General Al Gray, who was the commandant of the Marine Corps.
We are in the warrior profession. That's what we're all about. The people of our great land demand that we be special. They demand.
Commandant of the United States Marine Corps, they mostly just call him Sir. If there ever was a man who believed in the axiom, shape up or ship out, it is Papa Bear.
Jewish bears? You're Jewish? No, it's fine. It's just the kind of thing you tell someone.
And I probably shouldn't say this on the tape, and you all can get rid of it, but he's a homosexual.
Gray.
Gray.
Okay.
He's what they call a cherry Marine. Now, I'm not anti, I'm trying to find my, I hope I've got it.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to check out my old Rats in the Ranks series, since renamed Traitors to Trump. And you will see the transgender prostitutes, Roger Stone, Robert David Steele, steroids, growth hormone, and ecstasy and cocaine trafficking.
I know some of you are good taking things anally and orally.
That's to loosen your sphincter, right?
You will see gay for pay in the bodybuilding industry, Joe Weider and Arnold Schwarzenegger and their ultra-pro-Zionist stance, and links to Chabad Lubavitch. You will connect some major dots, including all those bodybuilders shows in Dubai, Andrew Tate, Chabad diamonds smuggled up their backsides and their vaginas to Dubai, Russian gangsters, Israel. It'll all come together. And yet again, there they all were with that other UN-loving, George Soros-infatuated Muslim convert, Dr. Kevin Barrett, who asked me in Kuala Lumpur to help, and I quote, torpedo the petrodollar.
I didn't go out with Dr. Mahathir yet. But I don't even know if Dr. Macrons would find a better restaurant than this. Well, people come to Kuala Lumpur. You know, we should have a convention here. We're talking, or some kind of meetup, and there are different ideas here. But one of them that I've been floating around with some local friends is having a conference on fixing the monetary system, because that is becoming a big issue as the balance of forces reaches the point that Dr. Macrons can actually say, here, let's try and set up a gold-backed Asian currency alternative to the dollar so we can avoid the U.S. sanctions and trade with Iran. So he knows how far he can push things, but now he's pushing them further because he knows he can get away with it because there are forces in Russia and China, for example, that agree with him. So he knows how far he can push things, but now he's pushing them further because he knows he can get away with it because there are forces in Russia and China, for example, that agree with him. Because there are forces in Russia and China, for example, that agree with him. In Europe, even, a lot of the high rollers now agree with him that there's a problem with this petrodollar hegemony and the whole banking system run by Zionists, as you know. So anyway, he's now pushing for this alternative gold-backed Asian currency. Could be really, and this is the place to do it, because right now Mahathir, the guy who actually wants to help torpedo the petrodollar and change the world's currency system, is back in power, riding high here. The high rollers now agree with him that there's a problem with this petrodollar hegemony and the whole banking system run by Zionists, as you know. So anyway, he's now pushing for this alternative gold-backed Asian currency. Could be really, and this is the place to do it, because right now Mahathir, the guy who actually wants to help torpedo the petrodollar and change the world's currency system, is back in power, riding high here.
And he mentioned his great love for Soros over dinner and how he hoped to meet then Prime Minister of Malaysia, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, and how, if you didn't know, not only does Dr. Kevin Barrack speak fluent Arabic, he also speaks fluent French and spent a lot of time in Paris. In fact, he used to hang out with, John Ford, that famous Hollywood director? Tell us all about it, Kevin. What the hell is it with France lately? It just keeps coming up. France, the Syndicalist movement, Macron, his boyfriend/husband being beaten up, aviator glasses, Bridget Macron's got a dick. Jeez, it's hard to keep up. Anyway, not being keen to bring down the petrodollar in a grand international conspiracy, I left the offer on the table at the Iraqi restaurant in Kuala Lumpur with Kevin and watched as a few weeks later my old friends from Iran turned up in Kuala Lumpur for a conference. Yes, I stayed with friends of the Foreign Minister Zarif and his friend Rouhani. I presume they were just back from meeting Lord Rothschild's friends, Jack Straw and Lord Levi, after dinner at Chatham House with the Oxford or maybe Cambridge Five.
Good evening. The headlines at 6 o'clock. Mrs. Thatcher has declined for the moment to clear the name of Lord Rothschild, to say that he was not a Soviet spy, the so-called fifth man. 5 times in the House of Commons this afternoon, the Prime Minister was pressed to clear Lord Rothschild's name and state that the former head of the government's think tank was not a Soviet agent. 5 times Mrs Thatcher declined to do so. 5 times she replied to opposition and Tory MPs alike that the matter was being considered in government, but she had nothing further to add at this stage. The pressure came as a result of a letter from Lord Rothschild published in the Daily Telegraph this morning, in which he appeals for a public statement that he is not and never has been a Soviet agent.
So, France, here we go again. Home of the Iranian Ayatollah and his jaunt from a Paris syndicist commune on an Air France flight to his nice parliament building in Tehran with 33 windows. It's not such a giant stretch to put this all together in this full moon on February 17, 2026. You may not believe in astrology, but I promise you, they do. You need to keep an eye on it. And this February's crazy. And I mean even crazier than usual. I told you, Pluto's in Aquarius, it's going to get crazier. How crazy, you might ask? Well, I don't have any battery backups. I lost all my solar and the power's already gone out 3 times, so I think it's going to get crazy. But we live in hope. Let's talk Catherine Austin Fitts and Associates and our well-known Solari report. Now, as you will know, Catherine pushes hard on things I absolutely agree with. She pushes night and day to retreat to small towns and deal with small banks and get to know your local sheriff and deal in cash. Hey, nothing wrong with that. But I'm a little bit worried because, you know, as you retreat to your small town, the panopticon techno-oligarchy T-Rex steam train rolls towards us, and we'll see if the science adds up. Because I don't have an underground tunnel to retreat to, and I think they're all going to come find us.
No further. I am a small-town sheriff with a small-town bank and small-town businesses.
Damn! Stop by a small-town local strategy.
Yeah, right, Catherine. Why do I feel a large robot army bringing up my rear on hearing Catherine Fitts and Associates' advice? Who is Catherine Austin Fitts? Your first clue about who she might be is the fact that she's all over the internet and she's doing very well, I might add. Some of us can attest that we're not doing so well and we're not all over the internet. And, you know, we get invited out with, you know, Fred Smith of FedEx. We get invited out with all the Jesuit Special Forces soldiers and ministers and politicians of Australia who hang out with the Windsors. We, you know, get interesting people come down and get into our beds whose brother is the highest level Pentagon JAG lawyer official, used to hang out with General Milley, you know, people like that. That's me, by the way, who's been to Iran and Beirut, and you've never heard of me because, you know, I won't take the bait. You know, I got a few $1,000s in my bank, but I don't know how much Catherine has, but I'm presuming it's a lot. Catherine's doing okay. So look, Catherine Austin Fitts has been around since the earliest of dial-up internet times. I remember her hanging with Michael Rupert, Cynthia McKinney and all the gang way back in the early 2000s. Let's read her impressive resume. This woman is an insider and has been to this day. Catherine is president of Solari Inc. and the managing member of Solari Investment Advisory Services LLC and Sea Lane Advisory LLC. She previously served as managing director and member of the board of directors of the Wall Street investment bank Dillon Read & Co., Inc. She also served as Assistant Secretary of Housing, Federal Housing Commissioner at HUD in the first H.W. Bush administration and was the president and founder of the Hamilton Securities Group, Inc., a broker-dealer investment bank and software developer. Catherine has a BA from the University of Pennsylvania, an MBA from the Wharton School, maybe she knew Trump, and studied Chinese at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Well, that's interesting. I like connecting dots. That's interesting. Wow, that's impressive. They say she exposed trillions in stolen money and was made bankrupt, feared for her safety, no doubt. But she's doing okay now. Don't fret. She's doing real good. Kind of reminds me how Lyndon LaRoche did all those fantastic reports in the mid-1980s on Israel and espionage. Then suddenly he was jailed for 14 years for tax violations and came out after 4 years swearing Prince Philip and the Windsors were running everything. Oh well, it can happen to the best of us. Now, Catherine isn't Alex Jones' first class good with 100 million in Mum and Dad's LLC in Nevada, but she is definitely flying business class as Jesus and hardcore truth-telling political dissidents are apt to do. They say Solzhenitsyn is pissed he missed this new age dissident money in business class flight time. All he got was the coal place in the Gulag archipelago via a cattle train. But times have changed. Being a dissident pays handsomely as long as your heroic backstory stands up. I mean, like Steve Jobs, did Catherine start in one of those Illuminati garages? Well, in the age of Joe Rogan and Ari Emanuel Hollywood productions and crisis actors, she is positively humble, and she is everywhere. So you know she is for real, because only hardcore truth tellers exposing the system are allowed all over the system's network.
A diverse demographic needs a diverse range of crisis actors to hide the truth.
Kind of reminds me of the closet homosexual Catholic conservative Nick Fuentes and his Catboy fetish, the most banned man on the internet, insulting Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife from his Rumble channel with 1.8 million subscribers on J.D. Vance and Peter Thiel's Rumble channel. I'm sure it all adds up somewhere along the Adam Curtis hypernormalization line.
What Surkov has done is import ideas from conceptual art into the very heart of politics. His aim is to undermine people's perception of the world, so they never know what is really happening. Surkov turned Russian politics into a bewildering, constantly changing piece of theatre. He sponsored all kinds of groups, from neo-Nazi skinheads to liberal human rights groups. He even backed parties that were opposed to President Putin. But the key thing was that Surkov then let it be known that this was what he was doing, which meant that no one was sure what was real or fake. As one journalist put it, it's a strategy of power that keeps any opposition constantly confused, a ceaseless shape-shifting that is unstoppable because it's indefinable.
They're all running investment companies, these people, from Catherine and Associates to Jeff Epstein to J.D. Vance and Peter Thiel. It seems like a lodge. Sorry, club. I feel like...
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Yeah, definitely not in it. So true. Catherine Fitz and Associates promotes herself as an educator in all things esoteric, truthy, and financial. She won't tell me who did 9/11, however, and a whole bevy of other subjects we'll get into, but, you know, she's all over the net, and she's popular, and she wants to make you money, so you should definitely listen to her. Get down into those tunnels, get down into that small village, you know, just run away.
They're coming closer. We have to get out of here. Help! Somebody please help us!
She is the ultimate promoter of small town, small bank, cash, and local sheriff solutions. Yeah. They say when the remote armies of the panopticon techno-oligarchy come, Catherine will don her sheriff's outfit, and small bank, small town, cash, and know your sheriff protection bubble will come into full force.
I will not allow this techno-oligarchy to disturb my small town.
Yeah, maybe we will be needing something a little more vigorous than small-town solutions for the oncoming techno-oligarchy T-Rex, which they keep telling me is coming. However, I fear it's been here for 30 years, since the onset of the good old Patriot Act and the internet. It's funny, I do all they say. I hoard cash and gold, like and subscribe to their channels, and buy their coffee mugs and t-shirts, but the T-Rex keeps coming. I gotta try the dick pills. My children's future is worth it.
If I buy dick pills, Catherine's gold and silver small town advice, I will be safe.
Catherine and the Colonel Aquino Eastern Star Lodge lightworkers are really onto something. I'll explain Catherine and Associates and the lightworkers later, but let's first talk about running away and joining the circus as a protective measure. It's been tried before, and it may well work as effectively as back then. Let's talk the Soviet Union experience, the ultimate scientific rationalists, and running away. In my teens, being a horrible Scorpio with a stellium in Scorpio and the moon conjunct Pluto in the 8th house, I was infatuated with the martyrs of the early Orthodox Church and the suffering of the Russian people under the Bolsheviks. So I got an early understanding about the joys of communism and forced communal living, aka communitarianism and smart cities. Some of my favourite stories were about people who tried to escape the scientific rationalist workers' paradise by going a little further out west and hiding in forests, believing the system would leave them alone. After all, they were harmless. In 1951, Stalin was upset not everyone loved his emerging smart city project, and the system began hunting down peaceful, independent people with trucks and relocating them to prepared labour towns. It was called Operation North. Not Operation Northwoods, sorry, that was another one. Operation North. In the early hours of April 1, 1951, the state didn't just target political rebels. They targeted anyone who was off-grid in their soul. People whose primary crime was wanting to be left alone. Catherine Austin Fitts people in their small towns, small banks, small town sheriff, gold and silver stashes and cash and barter system, awaiting the end in peace and quiet.
If I buy Alex's pills, Catherine's gold and silver small town advice, I will be safe.
Survivors recall the KGB arriving in Studebaker trucks, ironically American-made trucks from the Lend-Lease era, because, you know, birds of a feather like to test on others first. One survivor, Victor Karklins, recounts how his family were given 2 hours. They weren't told where they were going or why. They were simply told they were no longer allowed to live here. Clearly, they didn't have a small-town sheriff to help them out. Many of these families lived in remote farming hamlets in western Ukraine and the Baltics. They had survived the Nazi occupation by staying quiet and expected the same from the Soviets. They were wrong. The state had been building lists for years, cross-referencing baptismal records and neighbours' testimonies. Maybe they found one of Catherine Austin Fitts' mailing lists. Quote, "They didn't put you in a cell, they put you in a village in the middle of nowhere. You could walk around, you could get married, you could have a garden, but you could never leave. Every month you have to sign a register at the commandant's office. You were free within a cage that spanned hundreds of miles." As Klaus said, they owned nothing and they were allegedly happy. You know, we've had this stuff before. So, I'm thinking, and this is just me mind you, that running away to join the small town circus might not be a good long-term strategy and may in fact be working for the opposition, especially if you're on a mailing list. I can make these AI videos all day, you know, to make the point.
You go no further!
Damn! They got us with the small town strategy.
There is nowhere to run. But the emerging system likes it when you think that and remove your energy from the fight while it still labours in its emerging techno-oligarchy birth pangs. There's still time, but not if you run away and hang with Catherine and the light worker friends in a small town, with a small bank, with your gold and silver hoards, with your small town sheriff. Perhaps it would be better if Catherine and associates taught a strategy of a relaxing small town getaway to recharge the batteries, we all need that, whilst also engaging heavily with the system, not retreating from it, because it will find you. Oh, it will find you. We know people that know Catherine Austin Fitts well, and Mary Silver, the congressional candidate who has done more than anyone to get the most important information into the hands of the Republican Party, ambushed Catherine Austin Fitts, and she wouldn't even take the materials. She stuck her head down and she ran. She knows exactly who Mary Silver is. If Catherine Austin Fitts, just like Whitney Webb, was for real, she would be encouraging her followers to penetrate deep into the Republican Party, talk face-to-face with organisers and attendees on the deepest issues of control of the United States. Israeli City of London companies totally controlling all aspects of civilizational life. The power, the water, the oil, the gas, the pipelines, the banks, the automatic teller machines, Microsoft, Amazon, government communications, military, telecommunications, CIA, DIA, NSA, FBI, DEA, databases and computers. On and on and on. She, like all the rest, remained remarkably disciplined in dutifully avoiding the deepest aspects of that issue. And I assure you, none of them are going to give you the name Zohar and Yehud Zissapal and Rad Group or Radcom. The king of the hill. They literally run your United States critical infrastructure. Not just the US, the world. And Whitney and Catherine will not utter that name. Catherine Austin Fitts has been big on local communities, personal groups, and small-scale tactical day-to-day. That's great. Knowing your local sheriff is great. When the Israeli City of London AI swarm bots backed with Abrams tanks and Bradley infantry fighting vehicles comes to your own town to ensure compliance, confiscate your gold and silver, and take your stable coins, you be sure to tell the sheriff to saddle up, lock and load, and head them off at the pass.
No further. I am a small-town sheriff. Small-town bank and small-town businesses.
Damn, stopped by a small-town local strategy.
The strategy of moving local, talking to the sheriff and hoarding precious metals is a defensive posture. It assumes that the coming system will allow for pockets of autonomy, a neo-feudal arrangement where those with gold and land can ride out the storm. It's a kind of final Matrix movie deal. Remember with the architect? A kind of predictive programming. In the final series, the first was great, but the other ones were just terrible. In the final one, they make a deal with the grand architect to leave the humans alone. It's not happening. Nobody gets out of here alive. Now, the counter-argument, which aligns with the oh dear critique of Adam Curtis,
a ruthless elite siphoning off billions of public money. But nobody seems to know. It sums up the strange mood of our time, where nothing really makes any coherent sense. We live with a constant vaudeville of contradictory stories that makes it impossible for any real opposition to emerge, because they can't counter it with a coherent narrative of their own. And it means that we as individuals become ever more powerless, unable to challenge anything, because we live in a state of confusion and uncertainty. To which the response is, oh dear.
Is that this is a form of strategic isolation. If the most astute and politically active segments of the population are busy setting up, quote, Solari circles and focusing on local bank managers, they are effectively removed from the national and international board where the real technological and infrastructure decisions are made. Are you getting it yet? I am not interested in whether Catherine Austin Fitts and Associates is a nice person. I'm sure she makes a lovely pot roast and puts tea and biscuits on for her guests at her lovely house in between business class travel. That is not the issue. Mens rea, a guilty mind, is not the issue. Her, Catherine Austin Fitts, intent is not the issue, except in terms of a people's trial of all the assisters of the panopticon system. It is the inevitable result of her narrative, advice, and rhetoric, which I am conveying to you, guarantees the death of the Republic. The leftist UN infiltration of the United States is not just the highly visible Minnesota Somali mod squad gang. That's the easy thing. It's also Catherine Austin Fitts. You must consider what I now put to you, knowing all the tens of billions sunk into online and offline psychological warfare programs emanating from the Pentagon, which is to isolate the more astute, politically motivated, and financially able individuals into pockets of easily identified and controlled opposition, calmly putting their cash into gold, silver, and the local bank account, whose database is Israeli, whose ATMs are Israeli, and whose managers may be graduates of Unit 8200, all linked back to those City of London central bankers. Let me now explain how Catherine Austin Fitts is part of that control mechanism explained by people like Patrick Berge, Millie Weaver, and Gavin Wentz in their Shadowgate series. I mean, you do remember that series, don't you?
You've got the Smith-Mundt Act in 2012, which helped what was called provide IIA the keys to the kingdom. That was what we wanted, the keys to the kingdom. Because it was such a problem for us. How do you disseminate information on a chat room with a bunch of Iraqis who are sitting in Iraq, but that chat room's on a server somewhere in the United States? How do you do that without violating American law? And plus, how do you do that with ensuring that an American's not going to see that post later on, which does not have attribution for it potentially, right? And be influenced by it, because that's illegal.
Well, everyone, good afternoon. On behalf of Fred Kemp, our president, and the entire Atlantic Council family, dedicated or focused on countering propaganda and disinformation act. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with this year's presidential campaign.
Millie,
You don't have any sources.
It shouldn't be a big surprise that one of the biggest political operatives running disinformation and hit pieces about Shadowgate, our whistleblowers, producers, and myself, is a former McCain 2008 social media operative.
I did do some work for the John McCain campaign, and the 2008 convention.
And Ali Akbar, a member of the Republican National Convention floor operations team.
Well, as a party, we stand unified behind John McCain.
Your film alleges that Roger Stone is connected to Cambridge Analytica. I've pointed out that that's not true and it can't be true, and that I have primary knowledge of that.
I should hold a press conference today and call for Trump's impeachment. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. I'm going to do it. I'm supporting impeachment. I'm supporting impeachment. He must be removed. His son Jared must be prosecuted. I want to know how money changed hands on Bannon. I want a federal investigation. I'm filing a complaint with the FBI this afternoon. Fuck these people. Fuck these people. Right. So, right, exactly. Which is why I'm for the impeachment. I want impeachment. I'm going to work very hard for it. I'm not kidding. He betrayed Bernie, betrayed Rudy, he betrayed everybody. So he has to go. He has to go. Run again. You'll get your fucking brains beat in.
This is my Jewish brother. Excellent. Dr. Roger Stone. How are you? Going to you. Excellent. Going for Trump. You know I'm a Zionist. There you go. 100% Zionist. How are you? All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
And yeah, it gets crazy. Gavin Wince, a former Lockheed employee, is also hanging around with the French Grand Orient Lodge and the head of French NATO. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Look, I don't know. But everywhere I go, France and the Syndicus movement and Grand Orient Lodge and the lodges turn up. And that lodge includes the old Women's Eastern Star Lodge. Isn't that right, Catherine Austin Fitts? And all these women's Republican groups. Isn't that right, Julianne Romanello? Isn't that right, Heritage Foundation? Isn't that right, Project 2025? There is a huge utility in putting out vague adversaries. The use of terms like Mr. Globalist or the invisible enemy serves a specific function in the alternative media ecosystem. For a commentator running a successful boutique investment advice business, Catherine Austin Fitts and Associates offends no one, pushes no boundaries, names no names except giant corporations, well-known CEOs, and information you won't find on Fox News or CNN, but you will find on 500 mainstream supposed alt media channels with millions of views. And this is risky cutting edge. These people are making $1 million a year. They're risky cutting edge, and half of them, if not all of them, are all associated with mainstream news media sites. Just look up Tegna Group, with their offices just around the road from Langley, Virginia. Please grow up. They flooded the zone with a new crop of red-pilled internet warriors who think the truth was discovered around 2016 by their fave psych warfare online interactive internet activities warrior who flies first class everywhere and has 5 investment properties. Nice work if you can get it. It reminds me of Professor Noam Chomsky, who without doubt provides useful analysis, but it was always about evil corporations who are inherently greedy and are all corporation-y. And if we would only vote for Bernie Sanders, he would rip off his shirt and save the day and tax the rich, while Bernie himself amassed a giant fortune. For Chomsky, there is no conspiracy, no basement-dwelling elite under bare light bulbs plotting our demise, such as, Chomsky's co-religionist Heinz Kissinger sending US manufacturing and high-tech to Asia and Israel. In Chomsky's world, that would be just business, not a plot to destroy the American economy and therefore the Republic and install a worldwide surveillance state with viruses developed in China. I'd say post-COVID, the desire to kill us all with a virus and or a toxic vaccine has been displayed to all, and that little theory should be out the window faster than a Russian oligarch post-Putin meeting. Powerful people in Armani suits in Europe and the UK do plot to return us to the Crown corporate commons and manage our thoughts, feelings, and numbers as a farmer manages a herd of mindless, docile cattle. Well, Catherine Austin Fitts and Associates is next level. She includes the conspiracy of vast underground tunnel systems and Stargate-style alternative civilizations with her friends, who are all very interesting. Ulrich Granoga is one of Catherine Austin Fitts' faves. Resonant properties of the pyramids and language of the light, how sweet. What a sweet combination to have on your financial business model at the Solari Report. Just what we need as the robot armies and total control system comes upon us. A solid report on the pyramids and their resonant frequency. If I didn't know any better, I'd swear Catherine Austin Fitts and Associates was an outlet of the Women's Eastern Star Lodge. Never seen so much Masonic blabber in amongst financial advice. And you know what the Lodge and Kabbalists all love. Money and occult blabber. They are all deeply involved with a guy called J.J. Hurtak, Hurtak, an alleged PhD social scientist, futurist, and scholar who founded the Academy for Future Science. And he is intimately tied up with Catherine Austin Fitts and the Solari Report. J.J. Hurtak, PhD, is a social scientist, futurist, and scholar who founded the Academy for Future Science, an international NGO that maintains consultative status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC. Well, that's interesting. That is Catherine and Associates' top guy mentor. It goes on. ECOSOC holds one 4-week session each year in July, and since 1998 has also held an annual meeting in April with finance ministers of key committees of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. Additionally, the High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development, which reviews the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, is convened under the auspices of the Council every July. Would you like me to reread that? I don't have to. I'll put it on the screen. You read it yourself. This is the very core of the Solari Report and Catherine Austin Fitts, and I have seen this before. Remember, Lucifer comes as an angel of light. So, this is the small town bank Catherine keeps talking about. The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. What a lovely little bank in a lovely little town. Maybe in Switzerland, which is a lovely little country. The Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development sounds cool. Who doesn't want to be sustainable in their isolated small town with small town bank and small town sheriff and their gold and silver stash? I guess all that small town Wall Street investing and pre-placement as hero, barely surviving her business class flight ordeal, really paid off for Catherine and Associates. Bill Cooper got shot in the head. Kay Griggs was run offline and is basically hiding out. Eustace Mullins died in obscurity. Ted Pike is still alive, his wife is not, and who is Ted Pike anyway? Chris Boleyn is in obscurity, and what was 9/11 again? Maybe Catherine will remind us what 9/11 is again, and the Eau de Genon plan, and Kissinger, and the multipolar world order, Primakov doctrine, and all that boring stuff. Not when there are small towns to run to and pyramid light workers to discover. They're all the same. Lump them all in. And many of these people have contacted me, including Cynthia McKinney, who said I have a body of work to be proud of. Do you know how many times I've been contacted by high-level people? They will not say my name because I won't join the club or the lodge. When you look deeply at Solari and Catherine Austin Fitts, it gets a little bit cult-like. And where is Dave McGowan when you need an expose on a cult-like financial service espousing Kabbalistic Shekinah glory talk? Let us read from Catherine Austin Fitts' close friend. Just a small section because it waffles on for a long time, but it is linked below and you can help yourself if waffles are your thing. It's almost as waffly as the Jeff Epstein and Steve Bannon interview. This is Catherine's fave man ever, J.J. Hurtak, the UN, IMF, World Bank, Agenda 2030 guy. Reminds me of Whitney being interviewed by this guy who's bestie with Lord Rothschild and Noah Harari, but I digress. Okay, here's Catherine's bestie. Quote, the Shekinah, there's your first clue, the Shekinah divine presence, the feminine aspects of the Godhead, exists in all creative orderings of all dimensions, and is the power through which we are respatialized to partake of the virgin birth of our embryo God self. This is the age of the Holy Spirit, where the bride and creator become one, creating a new peoplehood of trinitized powers who are the bearers of a higher Christed seed, unfolding life anew by virtue of this greater union that is without dualistic separation. Through the knowledge of the keys, beloved, you will be prepared to go through the destructive fury of earthquakes, floods, storms and pestilence, famine, the mysteries of birth and death, change and permanence, and find your place in the universe. The messengers of the B'nai Orah, sons of light, and the B'nai Elohim, sons of God, are opening the gates of light. Yahweh is stationing himself in the assembly of the divine ones. Help me, O Father, to gather the children of Abraham, Isaiah, John, Amen, Peta, Buddha, Hari, Satinya, Krishna, and the countless other masters into the office of the Christ, so that all godly living beings who are eternal and associated with you on different spiritual planes shall be as one in the divine unity which shall penetrate the earth, so that no man in the east and in the west dare ignore thy kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. Now I know why God had me study the occult. Bill Cooper'd have a field day with this stuff. If this all sounds very, very Madame Blavatsky and the Theosophical Society, then you would be right. Reminds me of that other mind war guy, General Flynn.
We are your instrument of those sevenfold rays and all your archangels, all of them.
I am here, O God, and I am the instrument of those sevenfold rays and archangels.
We will not retreat. We will not retreat. We will stand our ground.
And I will not retreat. I will take my stand.
We will not fear to speak. We will be the instrument of your will. Whatever it is.
I will not fear to speak, and I will be the instrument of God's will, whatever it is.
In your name. And the name of your legions.
Here I am, so help me God, in the name of Archangel Michael and his legions.
We are freeborn. And we shall remain freeborn.
I am freeborn, and I shall remain freeborn.
And we shall not be enslaved by any foe, within or without.
And I shall not be enslaved by any foe, within or without.
I mean, you know that guy that always had General Flynn on, infatuated with money and light workers? You know, this guy? They just can't help but out themselves with their little hand signs and their little financial services, can they, Catherine? You know about Colonel Michael Aquino and the Presidio, right? That guy, with high-level Pentagon access, who was a self-professing Satanist. Wrote about total mind war, total control of a local population without resorting to physical violence. This was the ultimate war. I'm sure General Flynn can tell us all about it. Maybe Catherine Austin Fitz can tell us all about it. I'm sure on her lodge visits, she learnt a thing or two on Wall Street. Also, all that Kabbalist chatter fits in with the other one of Catherine Austin Fitz's friends, Nina Hine. She is a regular contributor to the Solari Report, Catherine Austin Fitz flagship boutique investment and lifestyle business. Nina runs a website along with Solari and Catherine and Associates. She urges people to attend the Warsaw, Poland Holocaust Museum, and I quote, "Who is this museum for? It's for everybody, to give a chance to meet Jewish community leaders that gave the world great thinkers, leaders, scientists, writers, musicians, and painters." Marian Tursky, journalist, historian, chairman of the board of Poland Museum, vice president of the Jewish Historical Institute in Poland, and a Holocaust survivor. Oh, Catherine, you're in such good company. Wonder she didn't hide out in the tunnels. Ah, so wonderful. Maybe Catherine and Associates visits the World Jewish Congress in Switzerland too, on her way to UN Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development meetings. Or maybe to the IMF or the World Bank, who can say? Here is Catherine on Tucker Carlson discussing the end of the world, central bank digital currencies, secret underground bases, and extinction events. Hell, let's run away to that small town paradise, please. Good to see Catherine and Associates and that other small town, small alt media guy with that twangin' banjo.
About a near extinction event.
Getting together to tell me how hopeless and frightening it all is. Maybe they did a bit of fly fishing, bit of investment advice, and maybe, they caught up with Alex Jones, on which she has appeared many times, and compare their trust fund accounts and, see who's got the most money in the most Nevada LLCs. This is the cutting edge alt media. That's sarcasm. Anyway, poor Tucker should know what's coming as he struggles to make ends meet after leaving that small-town alt-media struggling news site called Fox News, run by another alt-media truth-seeking guy called Rupert Murdoch, and his best friend, struggling fan of the World Bank, IMF and Agenda 2030, Heinz Kissinger. He too is into small-town banks with his friend Lord Jacob, a small-town banker himself. It's one big happy mess of struggling alt-media stars out there who are all over my feed on YouTube. Cutting-edge truth, one and all. Small-town heroes putting their millions into small-town banks. That's sarcasm. Here is Tucker telling me he doesn't know very much, and what is that?
Why would you redact references to Israel in the Kennedy files for 6 decades? Like, what is that?
That's almost an admission. So, like, I didn't know.
It's very odd, I'll say that, life. And so I remember hearing that argument, and I remember thinking, yeah, what is that?
They won't tolerate any dissent at all.
What is that? It does feel like they're trying to hurt the people they rule. I've reached that conclusion. What is that earlier? But they do want us to die earlier. What is that?
Otherwise, we don't feel safe. Okay, what is that? What is that?
What is that? I am so confused about everything. Don't forget to like and subscribe and buy my coffee mugs.
A diverse demographic needs a diverse range of crisis actors to hide the truth.
I saw he was going to discuss JFK and 9/11, was hoping for some insight, but Tucker is from a small town with a small bank and a small town sheriff and knows not of such things. Thanks, Tucker. It's like I am watching the Kabbalistic lodge at work with their New Age light worker rhetoric, love of the UN and love of small bankers. It all gets back to that Church of Satan and the Michael Aquino Church of Set and mind war. I'm reminded for all of their love of Russia for some reason. Vladimir tummy-kissing Putin, associate of Kissinger and Associates, and they all just can't wait to praise him. It's bizarre until you understand the links. Isn't that right, the last American vagabond? Were you ever in the Church of Satan? Are you in the Church of Satan? Because I hear you were. Whitney Webb's boyfriend and sperm donor, Johnny Vedmore, multi-generational anti-nuclear campaigners from Great Britain, well known in the community. Whitney Webb herself and her dad, who looks surprisingly like John Kerry, you know how much they keep it in the family, and all the allegations of his drug money laundering and land deals. Isn't that right, Whitney? Oh, we're getting back to you. Voiceover coming. But through it all, this grand love of Russia and convergence, isn't that right, Norman Dodd?
The story you are about to hear represents a missing piece in the puzzle of modern history. Without this knowledge, many contemporary events are simply beyond understanding. You are about to hear a man tell you that the major tax-exempt foundations of this land, since at least 1945, have been operating to promote a hidden agenda. And that agenda has nothing to do with the surface appearance of charity, good works, or philanthropy. This man will tell you that the real objectives include the creation of a worldwide collectivist state, including the Soviet Union, which is to be ruled from behind the scenes by those same interests which now control the tax-exempt foundations.
Let's take Mr. Carnegie as an example. His publicly declared and steadfast interest was to counteract the departure of the colonies from Great Britain. He was devoted to just putting the pieces back together again.
The failure of the institutions to protect people is a result of American independence, because when you throw away the monarch, you don't really just get rid of him. You make space for something else to move in. This break, this rupture that happens with the sedition and getting rid of the king resets the clock in America, and there's none of those things to draw on. And just trusting that people are going to stay Christian and therefore be nice to each other was stupid. And I want America to succeed and to win, and it would have done so better as a member of the Commonwealth in this land.
Whereupon he made this statement to me, namely, Mr. Dodd, we here operate on in response to similar directives, the substance of which is that we shall use our grant-making power so to alter life in the United States that it can be comfortably merged with the Soviet Union. Well, parenthetically, Mr. Griffin, I nearly fell off the chair.
I'm reminded of the centrality of Alexander Dugin, son of Soviet GRU general and lover of theosophical debates and odes to the beast, Satanist Aleister Crowley.
Я прошу почтить память умершего Алистера Кроули минутой молчания. Если есть в зале какие-нибудь зажигалки и спички, вы можете зажечь и минуту помолчать.
О мой Бог! Един Твой исток, един Твой дух, едино Твое изменение. Позволь мне воспеть Твои совершенства перед людьми. В образе шестиконечной звезды, сверкающей сквозь глупые своды, позволь мне объявить о Твоих совершенствах.
I wonder if there are some associates in there. Someone needs to dig right in here because Steve Bannon was hanging with Russian GRU Dugin in Rome in 2016 and extolling the virtues of Hitler's fave technocratic elite author, Julie Sivola, who has some valid things to say. I must admit, he is pretty interesting. You should check him out. But people in love with elite technocracies make me nervous, and don't make me mention the French syndicist movement again. But then, no one has attacked Kissinger as much as Steve. So, like Tucker, I'm confused.
Like, what is that? What is that? What is that? What is that? What is that?
What is that? I am so confused about everything.
Maybe Tucker can ask Dugin about his love of top Satanist Aleister Crowley next time he sees him. Maybe Alex Jones can ask him. That other multi-millionaire struggling dissident with his prostitute wife, Erica Wolf, whose mother works at the Texas Reserve Bank.
What is that?
Speaking of Russians, I'm reminded of another Russian, Vladislav Surkov, and that British guy, Adam Curtis, and the mind war theatre played on all of us, seemingly at all times, forcing one to look at the World Wrestling Federation and UFC fighter owner and Hollywood producer Ari Emanuel. Ari Emanuel. The ring that binds them all. Just like Jeff Epstein, another Israeli intelligence asset, along with his brother, Rahm Emanuel, who handles the other team. Oh dear, do you feel a sense of destabilized perception in the never-ending alt-media mind war? As more Epstein admissions come forth, just as the Trump administration push harder on the European Union Aleister Crowley lovers and spank the Federal Reserve, one feels confused and bereft. The confusion is deafening.
What is that?
But it was how he framed things that was so striking. On the EU.
The European Union's it was formed in order to screw the United States. I mean, let's be honest.
What is that?
Let's take Mr. Carnegie as an example. His publicly declared and steadfast interest was to counteract the departure of the colonies from Great Britain. He was devoted to just putting the pieces back together again.
What is that?
The failure of institutions to protect people is a result of American independence, because when you throw away the monarch, you don't really just get rid of him. You make space for something else to move in.
What is that?
It's enough to make you want to run away to a small town with a small bank and a large sheriff with big balls who'll help me protect my silver and gold investments. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Catherine and Associates suggest a parallel economy in society as the AI techno-oligarchy T-Rex train approaches. But I fear that has been tried before, and the past is often a good teacher. Back in the USSR, where our traditional enemy first popped up its head and now runs a Holocaust museum, Catherine and Associates suggest you come calling one day from your small town sanctuary, perhaps on your way to a UN meeting, the IMF, World Bank, Bank of International Settlements, Agenda 2030, as one does in Europe. You'll see her and her friends on the road, fellow travelers on their way to a UN Agenda 2030 meeting with her associates, visiting their small IMF and World Banking friends, because trillionaire bankers never give a sucker an even break or an honest Wall Street broker. Don't forget to like and subscribe and register for Catherine's newsletter and attend the meetings. And never do this, especially in front of General Mind War Flynn. So don't do grassroots political work or like congressional candidate Mary Silver and political activist Lee Levino, you will wallow in obscurity. Every demographic covered, no conspiracy left unturned. Maybe we'll corner them in the tunnels. Oh dear.
I will not allow this techno-oligarchy to disturb my small town.
Seems that small town, small bank, local sheriff, and local strategy didn't work so well.
Where nothing really makes any coherent sense. We live with a constant vaudeville of contradictory stories that makes it impossible for any real opposition to emerge, because they can't counter it with a coherent narrative of their own. And it means that we as individuals become ever more powerless, unable to challenge anything, because we live in a state of confusion and uncertainty, to which the response is, oh dear.
It's like, what is that? What is that? What is that? What is that? What is that?
What is that? I am so confused about everything. Don't forget to like and subscribe and buy my coffee mugs.
Flying saucers.
Most of Marcus is like alchemy, understanding hyphenating. You're being rabbinical. This is like...
I shaved my beard off. I used to be rabbinical.
I love Valerie. I want to marry her.
Want is not a word for us, Ignaz. God wants, we wish for. We must obey what God wants of us. I did. God wants us to live without power and lust. Two things that bring us to destroy other people and them to destroy us. And in return, He gives us knowledge, the ability to read and interpret. And He gives us family love.
F. Scott Fitzgerald, quote, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. One should, for example, be able to see that things are hopeless and yet be determined to make them otherwise. This philosophy fitted on to my early adult life when I saw the improbable, the implausible, often the impossible, come true."
What is our common bond truly? Freedom. Freedom. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian no matter what denomination you belong to. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't own a donut shop. You can't drive from here to Oregon. You can't be an American because that's what it's all about, and it's the only thing that it's all about, nothing else. Nothing else. It's about freedom.